Well, hi there, and welcome back to me channel. If you're new here, my name is Rusty, and this is me channel where I talk about me favorite movies, mostly horror, and me favorite music, mostly metal. And yeah, welcome to our Valentine's Day. Loves kills. I forgot my board. But yeah, this is the special Valentine's edition. I did Angels from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I did his movie Valentine Slasher um, last time, and so now we're going to move on. There's not a lot of horror movies that revolve around Valentine's Day, and I wish there were more because, love and betrayal, love. It's got a lot of breeding room there for horror, in my opinion. Yet there's not very many. I only know of, what, four? That I know of. I'm sure there is some like out of the way indie B movies that I've not heard of, but that's kind of what we're going to do now, though. We're going to talk about one that I have added to my collection that I was very glad to find. I had a lot of fun with it. It's a little indie B movie, um, and you can tell, but at the same time, I'm a movie cinephile. Have lots of room and forgiveness. I love indie horror, as anyone who watches this channel knows, and we are going to talk about a little movie called Cupid. Doesn't he look cool? Yeah. So, Cupid was released in 2020, so it's not very old. It was directed by Scott Jeffrey, written by Scott Jeffrey, and stars Georgina Jane, Michael Owusu, and Abby Casson Thompson. And it was a British production. I didn't know it until I watched the movie, and they were all kind of talking a little bit like me, or a lot like me, or even worse than me. And that's how I didn't really know it was a British production until I watched it a while ago. A while ago. I watched it maybe an hour ago, and so yeah, I wanted to do this for Valentine's Day, and I know I could have done My Bloody Valentine or the My Bloody Valentine remake, and I will, but I just, there's just not a lot of Valentine's horror. I wish there were more. So let's get into story time and start talking about this. Um, this movie opens up kind of neat to me, um, in that it it almost is like some kind of Disney movie, like Snow White and the Huntsman or something. There's a book and it starts telling you the mythology behind Cupid, which I thought was, excellent. Cupid was the son of Venus and Mars, so he was a god. They fell in love, and the product of their love was the god Cupid. Cupid was then blessed and emboldened with protecting love and spreading love, and is the bringer of love. Now, he though has a dark side, and as usual, that dark side was created, not born. So he fell in love with Psyche, and their love was great. And so not only did he bring love to the world, but he finally had love for himself. Except Mommy Dearest, Venus, did not like that. She was jealous of Psyche, jealous of their relationship, jealous of her beauty, and was not going to have it. So she refused to let them be together. Psyche, however, begged and pleaded, with her to allow them to be together. So Venus decided to come up with a plan that she thought would make her look benevolent while at the same time achieving her goal, which is that, okay, y'all can be together. I will let your relationship continue if you do these three impossible quests for me. And now she thought that there is no way that this girl would do it, nor would she live through it. So she didn't have any fear about that until Psyche came back. Psyche showed up at the temple with the three items. The impossible tasks were complete. However, she was almost dead and collapsed. Um, Cupid came to her rescue, you know, and pricked her finger with his ambrosia arrow to give her everlasting life and be immortal so that their love could live on forever. However, despite the fact that she had finished the tasks, the mother was not going to have it. She poisoned the arrows, and so instead of giving his love everlasting life, he killed her. So he went crazy, he went mad, and he was like attacking everyone, destroying love, attacking everyone everywhere he went. And he was so enraged and angry that he went to the god of the underworld, the Lord of the Dead, and asked him to help him get vengeance. This, however, enraged the Lord of the Dead, who, how dare you, shiny, happy little person, come to me with your rage, because you're light and I am dark, and you dare to come to me for help. So instead, he betrayed Cupid and turned Cupid into a vengeance demon. Think Anya from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So he warped Cupid's mind and filled him with rage to be forever a creature who destroyed love and took vengeance on anyone who used love or betrayed love. And over the eons, he could be summoned by, if you knew the spell and the way to summon him, he is a creature that can be summoned once again, like Anya from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So, we then shoot into the actual movie, which is actually the movie intro. We shoot into the movie where we meet Steve, this really jerk-sounding, yacky guy at a restaurant, where he's talking to this pretty blonde girl who, is listening to him, and you can tell that she's like, whatever. And he's going on about his penthouse and his money and all this kind of stuff. And she is absolutely unimpressed and has no interest because he's obviously a jerk no matter how much money he has. So she goes to the excuses herself and goes to the bathroom, where she calls her friend and says, "How could you set me up with this jerk? I've got to get the hell out of here." And she's going to go out the bathroom window and just leave him sitting in there. Now, before this happens though, so she's off in there doing that, we see this blonde girl come up to the window, and she looks really rough, really terrified. And she comes in to there, and you can tell that the guy knows her. She comes running in there and sits down in front of him and, starts telling him that she's made a terrible mistake and that they have to go. And so for a split second there, you don't know what's going on until he starts going, "You know what? The problems between me and your mother, you just need to get over it." So this is her dad. And she's crying and carrying on that she's made a terrible mistake and that they have to leave. And he wants to know what it is and what is she talking about. And she keeps trying to tell him that they're all gone. And he doesn't really know what that means. What do you mean? Who's gone? What? And then she tells him that she's raised a demon, that she's raised Cupid, and that they're all gone. And he's like, "Where's your mother?" And she's like, "She's gone." And you start to kind of think that she means they're all dead. Well, the father, he's not having any of this. He grabs her, he gets very angry, runs outside with her, and is like going, "What the hell are you talking about? What kind of drugs are you on? Have you lost your mind? You're as crazy as your mom, yeah? You're just as nutty as your mother, and I'm tired of both of your shit, and you need to get the hell away from me." This is to his daughter, yeah. About that time, the girl from the bathroom, who has escaped out the window, comes around and sees them, and they're both kind of like, oh, okay. And he's like, what are you doing out here? And she's like, well, I came to get some air, and you know, so she doesn't really know what to say. She just got busted, is what it is. But about that time, you see the girl looking up, the daughters looking up, and they show that's from a distance, but you see Cupid in the air, this creature, and I do love this creature. I mean, they did really good on this, um, in him, in my opinion, because he's creepy as hell looking. And all of a sudden, just completely unexpected. I mean, it's broad daylight outside of a restaurant. This girl is standing there, and next thing you know, phew, she's got this big giant arrow through her head, like right through her eye. And it was really good. There's no cutaways, you know what I'm saying? And I was really impressed with that, actually, because it's a low budget indie movie. And, you won't find any CGI in this movie. It's all practical. I know that a lot of people, complain that they would rather see mediocre, acceptable practical effects than they would bad or mediocre CGI. So, obviously, I guess in this case, they use most of the budget on practical because the practical is really good through this movie. So now that this girl gets a really good kill with the arrow in the eye, the daughter grabs the dad and they start running and, running through the woods while he stops every once in a while, like going, what is going on and what the fuck was that? It's like, and she's trying to explain it to him when Cupid lands. And that's one thing I really liked about this movie is that they weren't shy about showing the creature. They obviously were, and I admire them about that. They obviously were okay with, proud of the work that they did on this creature because they did not hide him. You see him very often up close, very clear. This is no, out of the way, off-screen kills, and you only see flashes of the creature or the person because like the effects are bad or something, or whatever their reason is for doing that. They didn't do that in this movie. You got to see him up close. You can see him in the trailer. Um, so I really liked him. I mean, I think they did a really good job on his character, on his persona. So as they're running through the woods, he like lands in front of them, and you get to see him up close, and he shoots the dad in the thigh. The dad falls down screaming and carrying on with this big arrow sticking out of his thigh. And then Cupid grabs the daughter and throws her on the ground next to the dad and grabs her head, and you just know what's going to happen because he's pulling her head towards that, towards the arrow. And I was like, oh, why is he doing that? She's the one who summoned him. Yeah, but she was trying to break the deal, right? I mean, if you're going to summon a demon, you know the consequences, and you try to change your mind, they're probably not going to be happy about it. So he grabs her and he skewers her head on that arrow, and they showed it, and this, it was good. It was a good kill. Then he grabbed the dad and he ripped the dad's heart out, and showing enough of it to matter. So I was very pleased with it. I mean, this is the intro, and I'm like, this is okay. I mean, I like this. So now we kind of jump forward, um, and we're introduced to a new girl, Faye, who's like having, um, she's like doing a spell over a picture of this guy, and you're like, okay, we're gonna go that way, are we? So, so you're introduced to Faye, and Faye is doing a love spell on this guy, and it's 2 days till Valentine's Day, and you now get introduced to these characters. It's a school, like a high school, and so you're talking about a bunch of 17, 18-year-olds that are the leads in this movie. Well, I mean, I don't know if that's how they are in real life, but that's the characters are high school students. So it's a high school slasher, or not. Well, it could be a slasher. I mean, considering the kills, but so you're introduced to, like I said, you're introduced to Faye. You're introduced to the guy that she has a crush on, which you quickly find out is actually a teacher, Mr. Jones. But he's got the hots for another teacher, Mrs. Drake. He doesn't really know that she's got the hots for him. And you also, are then introduced to Elise. Now, like any movie like this, especially one based around a high school, you have the Mean Girls. There is the Mean Girls in this one. Uh, they are bullying Faye all the time. It's a group of four, three girls and one boy. Yes, there is a Mean Girl boy. But, so you have Dylan, and Elise is the major bitch. So she's the leader, and you have Lonnie and Britt. So you have three girls and a boy, and they're the mean girls, and they're always picking on and bullying Faye, but you have no earthly idea why at this point. So you see him asking um, Mrs. Drake to Miss Drake, I'm sorry, to the Valentine's Day ball. So there's going to be a Valentine's Day ball, and you get to see a lot of like snideness and bulliness between them, and they even attack. Actually, both of them, Mr. Jones and Miss Drake, at two different times, get on to Elise and her little gang about bullying Faye. And this, of course, makes Elise very angry, as it would any mean girl. And she steals uh, Mr. Jones. His name Duncan. I think his name is Duncan. But she steals his phone that he left on his desk. So she ends up messaging Faye and is sending these false texts from Mr. Jones's phone, telling her that he likes her, which is her dream come true, telling her that to meet him after school the next day, and make a move if she wants me. If you want me, make a move. And also got her to take a bra pic to send to him. So here this bitch has gotten her to take a bra pic of herself that she thought she was sending to the teacher, which is kind of naughty, but and has talked her into meeting him after school, and tells him to, if she wants him to make a move. Now, of course, he has no idea. He doesn't even know that she likes him that way, because he's a teacher and she's a student. And so it's really not on his mind. He's really innocent. Um, so that was at, V-Day -2. So, it's 2 days till the dance. They're arguing with Elise about bullying Faye. Faith goes to meet Mr. Jones the next day. So she walks in with a rose, because they had also put a note in her locker with a rose. So she brings the rose to his to his office after school, where he's grading papers. And she walks up to him, and he's busy, and he's not really paying attention to how flirtatious she's acting, and stuff like that. And she gets right up on him with the rose, and she's all nervous and all, but he did tell her to make a move, you know what I mean? So what she doesn't know is that Elise and the mean gang are standing outside the door, because they arranged all this, so they knew it was going to be there, and they're videotaping to see what it is that she's going to do. And what she does is, just like out of the blue, she reaches down and kisses him on the mouth, which was their dream come true, because now they have this filmed. So he of course is freaked out. Like, what the hell are you doing? That's not okay. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings or anything, but no. you know, bad girl. So, um, they have taken this. They now have this. Not only do they have this picture of her, but they have this video that they had made of her giving, him an unsuspecting kiss, and that kind of, you can tell where it's going. You got kind of like Carrie vibes in that sense of the word, with this mean girl. She reminded me of, you know, that character in Carrie, because Nancy Allen's character in Carrie, she reminded me a lot of her actually, because she's just a bitch, and her hatred is like really being worn on her sleeve. And of course, at this time, you still don't know, what's this dude, what's her problem with this fake girl. But so she's done all of this, and that's when it all breaks, because when they go into class the next morning at class, it's one day till the ball now. So when they go into class, um, unbeknownst to them, they put that film on Mr. Jones' projector. So not only that, but they have completely covered the outside hallway walls with pictures of Faye. That picture that she sent of her almost nude in the top. And right there in the middle of class, when he reaches to show the film that he had, it was that film. So she is immensely humiliated. She runs out into the hall only to be met with walls full of pictures of her in nothing but her bra. And so she is completely humiliated. Um, the teacher, he's freaked out. They all go to the principal, you know what I mean? Because this is happening right after school. So everybody is still there. The principal is still there. The students were still there. So they all end up in the principal's office, and the principal cancels the ball, puts them on all, like you're going to be expelled. There is no Valentine's Day dance, and you, because of you doing this, you have to stay after school and clean it all up, because there's not going to be one. So there they are. It's after school, all the students except for a couple of teachers, and then all the ones in trouble. The four main gang. And you have Faye, and you have the friend Matt, and you can tell he likes her, and he's her best friend, Matt. So she, of course, is humiliated from the dark side of hell. So what does she do? She goes into the science lab and pulls out that book. And because, yeah, let me jump back to that night. When she was looking through her black magic book, she found the incantation to raise the Cupid, the summon the dark demon that destroyed the destroyer of love. So now that all this stuff happened to her that day, she does that very thing, and she raises it, and the Lord of Death actually appears in the room with her. And he tells her, like, what are you doing summoning me? What do you want? And she says that she wants love destroyed, everybody in the school. And he's like, well, who do you want this aimed at? Who do you want this targeted at? And she's like, everyone. So bitch wasn't holding back, you know what I mean? She was like, everyone. I want you to destroy it all. And he's like, well, I will unleash the demon, which is Cupid, right? And within 24 hours, everyone will be taken care of. So now you know that there's like a 24-hour. And now you remember what the girl said back during the intro with the father and the daughter. There was a point at which she hollered out, we just have to go and hide. We just have to wait it out. Well, now you kind of see what she's talking about, because the curse lasts for 24 hours. So the 24 hours of Valentine's Day. So she did it in the morning of Valentine's Day. So you know that until midnight that night, things are going to be going. And that's what happens. Now, the first kill we get is, make sure I say her name right, Lena. Okay. So Lena is the first kill that we get. Um, she's in the bathroom. She went to the bathroom while all the others are, of course, in the rec room having to take down all of the Valentine's Day decorations because the ball has been canceled. So this is the first kill that we get to see. The first person that gets knocked off. And I think it was really filmed pretty well because there was a moment when she's in the bathroom stall, she starts hearing the obligatory noises. As she looks underneath the thing, and she could see some figure, and there was a moment in which I actually was like, okay, enough with the suspense, enough with the suspense. And right when I said that, it scared the shit out of me because there was enough of the suspense. And he like nails her with an arrow, right through the side here into her. And that was good. And, she comes screaming and running out. So he didn't get her in the head, he got her right through the cheeks. And he grabs her and throws her down. And it was weird, but it was like a heart-shaped cookie cutter. Still heart-shaped cookie cutter, you know? And you're like, well, that's an unusual kill. Because he's like drilling it into her back. And, aside, as he's murdering her, he's like drilling this heart-shaped cookie cutter looking thing into her back. And you're like, okay, well, that's weird, um, but interesting. Then we go back and we see them, at the in the auditorium taking down the thing, and there is a big plate of cookies, heart-shaped cookies, and they start like picking them up and they're eating them, and they're like, who makes meat cookies? I mean, it's like, and it's like, oh yeah, well, they make soy stuff and meat stuff and by that, so they all kind of like grimaced a little bit and then like put them down, and it's like, I'm not really in the mood for meat cookies, and then you in your head are like going, was that girl? Were they just eating Lena flesh? I think so, but you kind of let it go at that, and so yeah, we get the Lena kill. They're taking down the decorations. I wrote eating Lena cookies, yeah, because that's exactly what I think was going on, and so Elise, she starts showing her ass, like she gets a phone call and the teacher's like, don't you dare answer that. You're going to be expelled if you don't straighten up. She's like, I don't give a shit. And so she leaves to go out and meet her boyfriend. The principal comes running, and he's like, what are you doing? You're going to be expelled if you dare to leave. You're supposed to be doing that. Well, she gets in the car and with her boyfriend, Brett, and the damn car won't start. She's screaming at him to get the car started so they can get out of there. The principal gets in front of the car and is like telling her to get the hell out of that car, when all of a sudden you see Cupid up in the sky, and he does it again. He puts an arrow right through the principal's head, splatters all over the windshield and stuff like that, and you're like, that's another good kill. This of course makes them come running out of the car, and the other teacher, Mrs. Drake, she's standing at the door. She saw a little of it, but she didn't see the creature, but she saw the principal get hit with something. As they're running, Cupid lands and shoots the boyfriend twice, once through the shoulder back here and once in the thigh. And they manage to get him in there, and all hell's breaking loose. The school is pretty much empty, I mean, you've got 3 teachers and the kids. So um, things start going off now because Elise, of course, is freaking the hell out. Like, what the hell is that? And when she gets in there, she's trying to explain to him, which is really funny. I wrote Elise's funny attempt to explain the demon that she saw, and that was a really funny scene, as she was, trying to explain what is unexplainable about this flying demon. And one of the other girls from the meme group, Brett, she even she's listening very, very intently, as you all are, at her ridiculous, hysterical attempt to explain why her boyfriend is shot with arrows and stuff like that. And Brett gets this really serious look on her face, and she stops at, and she's like, is she really saying some bullshit about people flying around in the sky and shooting people with arrows or what? And I'm like, yeah, there you go. It was funny. That was a pretty funny scene. But, okay, Cupid's now trying to divide and conquer, separate everyone. He does manage to shoot, and like I said, I was really impressed with the fact that even though this is like a mythical creature, he is being shown a lot, I mean, he's just walking down the hall with this big, and he looks cool. And he's definitely not a motherfucker I want to see, show up at my house. But he ends up shooting Matt in the arm, the lower arm. That's Faye's friend. Lena has been killed now. The principal's been killed. The next one up is the teacher gets it. One of the other teachers. There were 3 teachers. The older lady, she gets killed by Cupid. So we have her kill, and yeah, that's it. Yeah, the older teacher gets it, and that's when Matt gets shot pretty much at the same time because they were running down the hall, and he's back here just calmly walking down the hall shooting at them with the arrows. And that's when they make it back to the science lab. So they go back to the science lab because this other teacher's been killed, and Elise, she and Daryl have, that's where they ran to, and they found her book, her black magic book. So when the 2 teachers, Miss Drake and Mr. Jones and Matt and Faye, they all come into the room, Elise and Daryl are in there, and they end up, Elise starts screaming at her and telling her that she knows she did this, and throws the book at her and says, I found your little witchcraft book and you're the cause of all this. My boyfriend is dead. That was a gross scene too, because earlier the boyfriend, his arrows are poisoned, and so this looks like black spider veins go all over him. It was a cool death. So, and now of course that Matt guy's been shot in the arm, which will come in later. So so Elise has now told them that this is her fault, and she's kind of knowing it too. Of course she knows it. She's the one who did all this. So she's just had her cover blown in front of, Mr. Jones and everyone. So Elise and Daryl, they get pissed off, and they run. It's like, I'm not staying here with you assholes. We're getting out of here. So the last 2 of the main crowd, they come running out and are going to try to find a way out. Whereas Britt, the other girl from the main crowd, she had gotten separated, and we get to see her kill. Her kill was very, very cool in that when Cupid got a hold of her, he crammed a double, 2 dozen roses, long-stemmed roses. He crammed them. He choked her to death and crammed it down her throat, and they actually the stems actually busted out of her throat, and that looked really good. That was really good kill, and it really looked real. It didn't look fake at all. It was very good practical effect. So again, I'm like, okay, because she's got all these roses sticking out of her mouth, and she's got all these um, stems sticking out of her throat, and you really can't see, like, oh, I see the makeup. No, it really looked real. So I mean, I was really impressed with that kill as well. And then we see Elise and Daryl trying to get out. Um, they get into the auditorium, and that's where Daryl gets it. And this kill was very unique too, in that Cupid appeared and was throwing Valentine's Day cards like shurikens, like Chinese throwing stars, and they were stabbing into Daryl's back as he ran. These Valentine's Day cards were stabbing into him like throwing stars, and I thought that was neat. I haven't seen that before. And then he went up there and he used one of the cards to cut his throat, which again they showed. And so, yeah, I was like impressed with that. So we're down to now what? We're down to just Matt and Faye and the two teachers and Elise. So, meanwhile, up in there, um, they have to cut Matt's arm off, right? Because he had been shot with the arrow and the spider veins, and it was all turning black, just like Brett had did. So that was a over-the-top, gory, bloody scene where they had to put his arm in a vice grip and saw his arm off with a hacksaw because the poison's gonna spread. I mean, it, they weren't wrong. But you have to realize that this boy had his arm cut off without any anesthesia, not even a bottle of alcohol. It's like, no whiskey or nothing. Just like, I'm sorry, but we've got to cut your arm off, or you're going to die. Choose one or the other. It's your arm or dead. Which one you want? So they have to saw his arm off, and you're like, okay, that was a little over the top gore right there now. And I almost wanted to say, if the amount of blood that sprayed all over them when they were sawing his arm off was real, he would have died. That was a lot of blood, and I'm like, come on, little, you gotta tone that down just a little bit. There wasn't that much blood. It looked like somebody hit them with a fire hose. You know what I mean? So it was a little over the top, but it was still cool. And he played it really well because he screamed like a, mm, you know, like a mofo, and you would too, I'm sure. You know what I mean? It's like getting your arm cut off without any anesthesia. So Elise is trying to find a way out still, and they're trying to find a way out. So they leave, Faye and Mr. Jones, and go running and leave Matt and Miss Drake in the room to try to find some towels and stuff for the blood to help him before he died. And that's when, Faye admits to Mr. Jones that, yes, Elise was right, that this really was her fault. She showed him the book, and they figured out that they had like 15 minutes. It was like a quarter till 12. So they had like 15 minutes of Valentine's Day left, and if they could just survive it that long. So they hear a scream, and they realize that Cupid has now taken Miss Drake. I think he knows what they're up to. So he took Miss Drake, and it was a cool scene. He's like standing there with his bow right up against her head when they come into the auditorium, and she starts, doing an incantation trying to stop it, you know, And what she decided to do, because the guy was like, no, just let the 10 minutes now go, and we'll do it. And Cupid Cupid never said anything, but Cupid, you pretty much, I think that Faye knew that, no, I pretty much think he's going to finish us off before the stroke of 12. So she starts calling the Lord of the Dead, and he comes back again. And he's like, you know, he appears and he's like, what are you doing calling me again? And Elise started to turn around and look, and she's like, no, 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 don't look. Never look at the Lord of Death. You look in his eyes, he'll take your soul. So she stopped and turned back around to the front, and then the Lord of Death was like, why are you calling me again? And she's like, this is not what I want. I want it stopped. And it was like, no, no. I told you that there would be consequences. I mean, you people always do this shit. You want to summon a demon and then say, no, never mind. It don't work that way. You could almost hear the frustration in the Lord of Death's voice, right? He's like, oh, shit. You people really need to get a hold of your anger issues before you summon my ass. And then I start killing everybody like you told me to. And you're like, oh, wait, no, never mind. Please stop. So, yeah, I could feel that. I could feel it. It was cool. I think Anya had a lot of those moments, right? In Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But, so the Lord of Death is like, all right, but there's only one way to stop it, and there has to be a sacrifice, and that's you. So, Mr. Jones is like, no, no, don't do that, just like wait it out. And because, there's only like 3 minutes left. There's only 3 minutes left. And the Lord of Death said, yeah, there's 3 minutes left. And he can take y'all all out, everyone in this room out, in less than that. So either do it or he's fixing to go, one or the other. So about that time, though, stupid ass Elise, which this was really good karma, she turned around and looked into his eyes. And it was funny because she was like, oh crap, I looked into his eyes, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And she turned back around. I mean, it was like a typical dumb blonde moment, like, oops, I did that. And they grabbed her. And the Lord of Death grabbed her, looked into her face, and said, I am death. And then Cupid, put an arrow through the back of her skull. And so she ended up being the sacrifice instead of Faye. Which, if she wasn't such a bitch, it would have been not cool. But then again, she was a mean, evil bitch. Oh, and the reason, so that I don't leave you hanging, the reason that she hated Faye so much was because Faye's dad had died like a year and a half or so ago before, and her mother started seeing and broke up the marriage of Elise. So it was Elise's dad that Faye, when there was a scene in which Faye walked in on them having sex on the couch, and you found out that was Elise's dad. So that's where her hatred for Faye had come from, was because, her slutty mother had taken her dad. So, yeah, that's where that came from. It answered that question anyway. So now that Elise has the arrow through the head, they all disappear. They poof, fade away. The curse is over. Valentine's Day is over. And you have Mr. Jones and Miss Drake and Matt and Faye. They have lived through it. And, so Miss Drake and Miss Drake and Matt leave in one car to take him to hospital. And then Mr. Jones and Faye are going to follow. But then Mr. Jones looks at Faye real funny, and then grabs her and kisses her, And Faye's like, well, why did you do that? And he's like, oh my God, I don't know why I did that. I think your love spell worked. And then the movie ended. So, that's Cupid. And, yeah, I actually liked it. You know, I gave it a 7 out of 10 on for effort. Now, granted it's a B movie, granted it's a indie, low budget indie film, but the story was really cool. The practical effects were, really nice. I think they spent probably most of the budget. What was the budget, if there was any? I don't know if it'll tell us that or not. No, nope. It doesn't tell. It was too short for me. It was only an hour and 23 minutes. I usually don't like short movies, but if you like cheesy movies, you'll get a good helping here. It was cheesy in all the right ways to me. I liked it. And of course, it's attacked like every other horror movie, unless it's Aliens or something like that. It's got a crappy score on International Movie Database, just like almost every horror movie does. Um, but of course, they're even more brutal to low budget or indie horror, and that's the reason why I never pay attention to their reviews, and I never pay attention to any of their shit, if you want to know the truth, because I know better. I like a lot of movies that are 4 out of 10 on International Movie Database because people hate horror movies, and we're a hated bunch. But yeah, I really like this movie. It was very cool. 2020, Cupid. I think they did a great job with what they had. The story was really, I liked the story. The story was believable. The acting was 95%. I mean, there was maybe a couple of moments here and there when you went, okay, that line wasn't delivered very well. But I've seen that same thing in a big budget Hollywood movie where I was like, they farted right there, man. That was stupid the way he delivered that line. But for the acting was fine, the story was fine. I really liked the practical effects. I really liked the kills. I'm always kind of excited when I see something that I haven't seen before, and being shirkened with Valentine's Day cards was pretty damn cool. Being choked to death with 2 dozen roses was, and having them like shoot out your throat, that was pretty cool as well. So it's got some unique kills. Like I said, it is low budget. It is a indie horror film. Support indie horror, and that's it. I'll get around to doing my Bloody Valentine. If you know of any other Valentine's Day themed horror movies, put them down. I'd like to check them out and see if they're, okay. But I had never heard of this. I did my usual, which is I looked at the synopsis. Watched the trailer. I then skipped over 1 and 2 star reviews because I won't, well, I'll read them to make fun of them. But if you're rating a movie 1 out of 10 to 2 out of 10, that's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. And I usually won't even bother. I give your review 0 weight. Um, you know, because first of all, I think you're stupid to have went and got a movie or bought a movie or rented a movie or something that was so bad you would give it a 1. I don't know. It's just that we all know how International Movie Database and Letterboxd, they're all kind of the same, full of trolls who just, if it's not Citizen Kane, then it sucks, and I don't play that. So I judge it on myself. You can get this for like $5-6, brand new sealed DVD is what I paid for it, maybe $6, and I loved it. It was perfectly fine. I like the actors. I like the story. I love the kills. I love the practical effects, and it was imagination fuel. I think that they did really good with whatever money they had, and Cupid was creepy looking. He was pretty cool looking. I like that. So I will see you in the next video. Thank you for taking the time to sit with me. I hope you have a happy Valentine's Day if you're one of those kind. In my opinion, love kills. So, Oh, and interestingly, I've got that on me board. I've showed it in other videos. I've got a big sticker that says love kills on it. There's a scene in the bathroom where it's like written in blood across the bathroom, love kills. And I was like, that's cool. I like that. So that was a little trivia. But yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for spending time. Remember, you are a very special individual. You are the only one. See, I've got all my hearts on. All my heart bling. A shirt with a heart on. It's my bloody Valentine. Bullet for my Valentine. And yeah, you're a very special person. You're very unique. Always remember that. No matter what anybody is saying to you or doing to you, you are the only one of you. And you are very important, no matter what anybody says. As long as you know that, you're okay. And yeah, so keep rocking hard and keep screaming when appropriate, which these days is all the time. Just try not to do it in front of too many people. Get put away. But I'll see you in the next video. Maybe I'll try to do my Bloody Valentine. That would be hard. I mean, when you have to do a movie you love so much, it's kind of like you might just blather on forever. But like I don't do that anyway. But I will see you in the next video. Love you, miss you, bye. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye. You can go now. Oh. Am I supposed to hang up first? No, you hang up first. Bye. No, you hang up first. Tell me you haven't done that with your boyfriend or girlfriend. No, you gotta hang up first. Hang up first. Oh, fuck it.